When I get a call and somebody's like, hey, I want a second home, but I also want a short term rental, in the back of my head, I'm honestly kind of thinking to myself, you've got to pick a lane. Here's something interesting that has been coming up a few times lately. I've had multiple people tell me they want a short term nightly rental, and then in the same breath, say they also want a gated golf community or they're looking in Old Town, but then we also want to look at Promontory. Hold up, time out. Those are two completely different lifestyles, two completely different goals, and two completely different outcomes. It tells me one thing: you're not clear on what you actually want. Do you want a second home, a lifestyle property, or are you wanting a short term nightly rental? Because those are two completely separate goals, two completely separate properties. Now, I can absolutely help you buy a second home in a gated golf community and a short term rental in Old Town, but you're going to be buying two properties to make that happen. Short term rentals versus second homes. Let's break this down simply. A short term nightly rental is an investment strategy. You're prioritizing zoning, location, occupancy, cash flow, guest demand, and your personal use comes second to this. A second home or a gated golf community is a lifestyle decision. You're prioritizing amenities, community, privacy, prestige, how it feels when you're actually living there. Those two properties are rarely the same house. The confusion I see all the time is what happens when someone comes in at a lower price point thinking, this will work for now. A year goes by, you've lived in it, you've experienced the location, you understand the trade offs, and then suddenly your budget doubles or triples because now you're clear. You realize instead of buying something you should tolerate, you should have bought something you actually love using. That clarity usually comes after the first purchase in Park City, but it's much cheaper to figure that out beforehand. So, how do you decide? This is the key part. Here's the question I ask everyone: are you primarily buying a property you want to use and love with the option to occasionally rent it out to offset some of the costs? Or are you looking for a property that you can aggressively rent and maybe use it once in a while, but renting is more of the priority than your personal use? These are two very different priorities. If you want to use it personally, you shop for your lifestyle first, and rentability is a bonus. If you want true investment, your personal preference must take a backseat to zoning, demand, and nightly rental performance. You can't have both successfully, so you need to pick a lane. In Park City, the best areas for short-term rentals are Old Town, Deer Valley, and Canyons Village, but you're paying a premium to be in those areas. And also, you need to accept that you're also going to have a high cost of overhead. If you're getting a mortgage, forget it. You're not cash flowing. You'll be lucky to break even. If you're paying cash, you'll do okay. Some of the best investment properties in all of Park City are the St. Regis and the Montage. But guess what? You are buying a property for $5 million dollars just to make $250K or $300,000. So a lot of people have misconceptions about how much rental income properties actually make here. So if you've never entered the short-term Airbnb market or the nightly rental market, my biggest advice to you is to Google property management companies in Park City. There are like a million that you can reach out to. Simply call them and say, hey, we're thinking of buying a nightly rental in Park City. We noticed that you guys manage a lot of these properties. What areas are the most lucrative? Where should we be looking to put our money? And a property management company can say, when you're on the outskirts, you're not going to make that much money because you're on the outskirts. So you're going to have to pay more money up front to have the better location. Because when people come to visit, remember, the visitors, the tourists are your renters. They want to be in the heart of it all, not on the outskirts where they have to drive 30 minutes to town. Sometimes I can't wrap my head around why somebody would buy an Airbnb in Heber. I'm like, why are you buying an Airbnb in Heber? Heber is like a full-time place where residents live. Somebody bought an Airbnb in the new Toll Brothers community and they cannot rent it out. And I'm like, no kidding. Like, who was guiding you on this? Like, do not buy Airbnbs in Heber. And that might change as Heber starts navigating itself as more of a resort town in the proximity to Deer Valley East Village. And now probably I would imagine Sundance is going to come into the picture a little bit more. that Deer Valley East Village is really gonna change things for Heber, but still, like, if I was skiing at Deer Valley, I'd wanna be in Deer Valley, not in Heber. And I'm just saying that, honestly, as transparently as possible. You need to either buy in Old Town, Deer Valley, or Canyons Village. The rental reality check. Another big misconception I need to clear up is that you cannot nightly rent everywhere in Park City. It's absolutely not true. There are very specific zoning requirements where short term rentals are allowed, and many places where they are not. For example, I live in Sun Peak, which is next to Canyons Village. Canyons Village allows nightly rentals, but Sun Peak does not. It is a full time, year round community where you can only rent out your property long term. So hence we have a lot of second homeowners who maybe they rent out their home occasionally to a renter for a long-term lease, but it's mostly year-round people that live there. If you're serious about nightly rentals, you need to be looking in Old Town, Canyons Village, or Deer Valley. And even within those areas, every building and HOA is different. So the bottom line, a second home and a short-term rental, they are not the same thing and they serve different goals. They feel very different to live in because you're going to have a very transient neighborhood versus a non-transient neighborhood. They serve very different goals. They feel very different to live in and they require different strategies. The best advice I can give you is to get crystal clear before you buy something because clarity saves you money and confusion gets expensive. If you're buying a place that you actually want to use and love in Park City and not just own it on paper, then your strategy matters more than your square footage. A lot of times, buying an Airbnb is a very complicated process. Short-term rentals versus second homes, they're really a different beast and they're two completely different goals. So you really need to get clear. If you're buying here strictly for numbers and rental income, investment income, then you're buying for the wrong reasons. You have to be buying for lifestyle first to make it worth it in Park City. Also, you have to buy for long-term appreciation because that's the real gold in this town. Hey, my name is Nicole Bowdle. I'm a local real estate agent in Park City. I've lived here for a really, really long time. I would love to help you find your place here in Park City.